Peace, love, shalom. Excuse my laundry. Peace, love, shalom, peace and love. Going to get into the book of Psalms, chapter 13, 15. Chapter 13 through 15. And the book of Proverbs chapter 29. And lastly, the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1. Bear with me as I try to get through this, y'all willing. Book of Psalms chapter 13, verse 1. How long would you forget me, O Yahuwah? Forever? This is the book of Psalms chapter 13, verse 1, and this is David asking what most of us, most of us who believe in the Most High, most of, what goes through most of our heads. How long would you forget me, O Yahuwah? Forever? How long would you hide your face from me? Verse 2. How long would I take counsel in my own being? Excuse me. How long would I take counsel in my being? Grief in my heart day by day. So this is like, anyone who knows this, like, they can emphasize, they can empathize with David when he says this. How long would I take counsel in my being? Grief in my heart day by day. The grief that, develops in your heart is from something you did that you shouldn't have done, or something you said that you shouldn't have said. That's usually where grief, stems from. And, of course, a loss of a loved one, or a loss of, a lover. But he's speaking, how long would I take counsel in my being? Because this is what we be saying to ourselves, like, we be grieving in our own heart day by day, going through it. And he says, how long would my enemy be exalted over me? How long would my enemy be exalted over me? Verse 3, look, answer me, O Yahuwah, my Elohim, meaning my God, enlighten my eyes, lest I sleep in death. Verse 4, lest my enemies say, I have prevailed against him. Lest my adversaries rejoice when I am moved. Verse 5, but I have trusted in your loving commitment. My heart rejoices in your deliverance. Verse 6, I sang to Yahuwah because he has been good to me. So this is what we have to, bring ourselves back to. Trusting in, the Most High's loving commitment, letting our heart rejoice in his deliverance. Because he does deliver. When we think, all else is fail, all else is going to fail, all is going, all is crashing down on us, that's when he swoops in and delivers. You know, I know at least for me, that's how it is. I experience it every week, and we just have to. We all I can, from based on my experience, all I can say is we have to continue to trust in His loving commitment, because He's committed to those who's committed to Him. Chapter 14, verse 1. This is the book of Psalms, by the way. We just read chapter 13. Now we're starting chapter 14, verse 1. The fool has said in his heart, there is no Yahuwah. They have done corruptly. They have done an abominable deed. There is no one who does good. So this is what the fool says in their heart, that there is no Yahuwah. We hear this all the time from atheists. We hear this all the time from people who believe that they're their own creator. We hear this all the time, and they're fools. They're fools. They may be world wise, but spiritually they're spiritual fools. They're spiritual fools. You have a lot of worldly wise people who are spiritually fools, and they're fools spiritually because they lack the spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that come from the Most High Himself, that He spoke through Solomon and David and Solomon. And we're reading what He's speaking through David right now. So He's basically explaining how the fool has said in his heart, like, when you say this in your heart, you meant this. Like, you truly believe this. So you're saying in your heart, and you truly believe there is no Yahuwah. And what comes with this belief in these words, is corruption. They do what is corrupt. It says they have done corruptly. They have done an abominable deed. So abominations, most people who don't believe in the Most High, and most people who don't believe in the Most High are most likely corrupt people that can't be trusted. The corrupt people that can't be trusted, and they're abominable people that can't be trusted either, meaning unclean. They do unclean things, and you can't trust these people. They're abominable. They're abominations. They do abominable deeds. If you don't believe in the Creator, you don't believe in the Most High, you don't believe in the Most High Yah, I can't, it's hard for me to trust you. It's hard for me to trust you because you're likely to be corrupt, and you're likely to be guilty of abominable deeds. You know what I mean? And it says, there is no one who does good. So there is no one who does good, for the most part. To this day, this holds true. There is no one who does good, because you have even those who do good find themselves doing bad in their thoughts, doing bad in their memories, doing bad in their emotions, doing bad in their feelings. I know I do. I may appear that I'm doing something good, reading, sharing the word, sharing the scriptures, but I do bad in my thoughts. I do bad in my emotions. So there is no one who does good, because it's like you still have memories of, what you've done. You still have memory of that. You still have memory of that. So this is why no one can say that, they do good, because you still have a memory of what you've done. Your flesh has muscle memory. Each of our flesh has muscle memory, and we can get corrupt by that memory. We can get, Yeah, like I'm not the one to front. I'm not the one that's. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything, and I'm not going ever act as if I'm holier than thy. Like, I probably I most likely do the least, of any of many people. But as far as what goes through my mind and what I have in my memories, I'm just as filthy. But I teach what should be done. I teach what we should be doing, and I strive to be what we all should be, which is students, disciples, and taught ones of Yahushua HaMashiach, the only begotten Son. Verse 2. Yahuwah looked down from the heavens on the sons of mankind to see if there is a wise one seeking Yahuwah. So this is the book of Psalms chapter 14, and we're reading we're in verse 2 where it says Yahuwah looked down from the heavens on the sons of mankind to see if there is a wise one seeking Yahuwah. Verse 3. They have all turned aside. They have together become filthy. No one is doing good, not even one. So this could be David seeing the people he's surrounded by now in his time. This could also be prophetic, which is this we can see this today. The Most High looks down and see that there is no one there is no one seeking Yahoo. Like there is no one. It says Yahuwah looked down from the heavens on the sons of mankind to see if there is a wise one seeking Yahuwah. Who is seeking Yahuwah? I'm seeking Yahuwah, but my flesh is seeking other things. My flesh may be seeking, who it wants to be with. My flesh may be seeking where it wants to go, what it wants to do, my flesh. Each of our flesh have other plans. It's our spirits that seek the Most High. It's the breath of life spirits within that seeks the Most High and should be seeking the Most High and ruling over our flesh and denying our flesh of the desire to, do things, see people, be with people, say things, and go places. And so this holds true to this day. Yahuwah looked down from the heavens on the sons of mankind to see if there is a wise one seeking Yahuwah. We all should be strive to be this wise one seeking Yahuwah, because in his eyes it's like this is what he sees. It says, verse 3. They have all turned aside. They have all turned aside. They have together become filthy. No one is doing good, not even one. Not even one. So you want to be that one. We all should strive to be that one. And it's like I said, it's tough for us to do good because we have memory of doing bad. We have a flesh that desires to do bad. And this is just the reality of it. But it's our instruction to rule over these flesh that we're in, to rule over them and be the boss of them, be the adult, be the adult of them, of these flesh, be the parent of these flesh. No one is doing good, not even one. Verse 4. Have all the workers of wickedness, have all the workers of wickedness no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat bread, and do not call on Yahuwah? So these are the workers of wickedness who don't call on the Most High. They don't, first of all, they don't even believe in the Most High. So they're not going to call on an entity that they don't believe is there. They're not going to call on an entity that they don't believe is there. And these are the workers of wickedness. These are the children of the enemy. These are the workers of the ancient knowledge of evil. They're all possessed by the ancient knowledge of evil. We all are corrupt by the ancient knowledge of evil. That's the enemy. In totality, the ancient knowledge of evil is the enemy. It's one and the same with the enemy, one and the same with the adversary. The adversary is here to just point his finger and say, ooh, look what I got him to do. Ooh, look what they're doing. Look what I got them to do. Look what the ancient knowledge of evil has done to them, and what how they fell victim to this ancient evil. Have all the workers of wickedness no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat bread, and do not call on Yahuwah? Verse 5, there they are in great fear, for Yahuwah is with the generation of the righteous. So this is the generation of the obedient. So when you see righteousness, always equate that to obedient. So this is what he's saying. There they are in great fear, for Yahuwah is with the generation of the righteous. That he is. He's in the generation of the obedient. That's the righteous, according to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 20 to 25. Righteousness is always going to equal to obedience. Righteous will always equal to obedient. Remember that. Where did we left? Verse 6. You would put to shame the counsel of the poor, but Yahuwah is his refuge. So the Most High is the refuge to the poor. Those who are poor, those who are, they just can't cut it. They don't have it, but they trust in the Most High. All has been lost to them. They've found themselves in unfortunate situations. Most of them have been born into unfortunate situations, born without a shot at all. The Most High are these people's refuge. And everyone who take counsel in the Most High and trust in the Most High, he's their refuge. Verse 7, oh, that the deliverance of Yisrael would be given out of Zion, when Yahuwah turns back the captivity of his people. Let Jacob rejoice, let Israel be glad. So even David David is pretty much looking forward to the day where the Most High turns back the captivity of his people. So it's obvious that David's people was in captivity and seen them in captivity, and this is prophetic and envision the people in captivity, the people of Jacob the people of Yisrael, and he's looking forward to the day where the captivity is turned back. Chapter chapter 15. This is the book of Psalms, by the way. Chapter 15, verse 1. Yahuwah, who does sojourn in your tent? Who does dwell in your set apart mountain? Verse 2. He who walks blamelessly. So I love this chapter because this is the standard. I left a note on the side, and I basically labeled this whole chapter 15 the standard of us all. So let's see what it. I want to remind myself, and see what the standard is. Yahuwah, who does sojourn in your tent? Your tent, his tent is the kingdom, his kingdom. So this is what he's asking. This is what David is asking. He's asking a rhetorical question because he's about to give the answer. And he's saying these are the people who dwell in his kingdom, who will dwell in his kingdom. And this is the standard for those people. Yahuwah, who does sojourn in your tent? Who does dwell in your set apart mountain? This is his kingdom. Verse 2. He who walks blamelessly and does righteousness and speaks the truth in his heart. So you have to walk blamelessly. You can't be one the blame is on. Like someone can point the finger at you and be like, yo, and you're guilty and you're the one to blame. Don't be the one to blame. Don't be the one to blame for stealing. Don't be the one to blame for lying. Don't be the one to blame for false witnessing, lying on someone. Don't be the one to blame for, sleeping with somebody's spouse. Don't be the one to blame for, don't be the one to blame for slandering someone, slandering someone's character and name. And, don't be the one to blame. Do your best to avoid all that. You find yourself getting into any disagreement or misunderstanding or argument with someone, shut it down immediately and say you got it. And go the other way or find another option. If you're tapped in with the Most High, you're gonna have options. He's going to give you an exit. He's going to give you a way out. He's going to give you an alternative to get yourself out of whatever encounter you have with people who are under the strong influence of the ancient knowledge of evil. And I notice, man, when you find yourself doing what you ain't got no business doing or saying what you ain't got no business saying, these people will find you. These people who are under the strong influence of the ancient knowledge of evil will find you. Because the Most High sends them to shake up, to make you uncomfortable. He sends them around. He put them around you to make you uncomfortable for what you said that you had no business saying or did what you had no business doing. Trust me, I know. These people pop up out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. And it's almost like movies. It's almost like horror films where people like possess people, and they're possessed by something and they're just popping up in wherever you are just to start fights with you, start arguments with you, or just be in your way and just making you uncomfortable. This is what it's not even funny, but I'm saying I'm laughing because it's the truth. And the movies show it, and there's a lot of truth in these movies. But I don't want to get too far off track. But just expect whenever you're doing something wrong or saying something wrong, expect a wrong person to show up in your life, in your vicinity, to make you uncomfortable, or something that happened that will make you uncomfortable. It's just that's what comes with, doing something or saying something you had no business doing or saying. That's what comes with it. He's going to stir up trouble around you. He's going to send people who don't even know why they're there to make you uncomfortable. I'm telling you this. I promise you this, and you may not even notice it. You may not even notice that you may not even notice the pattern and why those people are there. Why you had an argument with these people? Why you had a misunderstanding with these people? Why it happened to you? Why this unfortunate situation happened to you? Why is the drama in your coming around you? I don't even ask why anymore. I just think about like, yo, I know why. I, the Most High is just. He don't miss. He don't miss. He don't miss. He don't miss his mark. And whenever we bought that, we bought that. So he's basically, this is, let me not, I know I just got sidetracked, but this is the standard I was talking about. And these are the folks, these are those who will, this is what gets you in the kingdom. To this day, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 15. One of, I like, I got to say this is one of my favorite verses because it breaks down the standard, in to a T, cover every aspect. It says, Yahuwah, who does sojourn in your tent? This is his kingdom. Who does dwell in your set apart mountain? This is his kingdom. Verse 2. These are the folks who dwells in his kingdom, dwells in his gathering, his assembly, his temple, his spiritual temple, which is his son. He who walks blamelessly and does righteousness. That means one who's never to blame because they don't do anything, and they don't do anything to people. They may do things to themselves, but they don't do things to others. They may say things in their head or out, they may say some things and they think some things, and like myself, But the last thing you want to do is do things to others, do harm to others, be inconvenience, a burden, and a stumbling block to others. And when you avoid being that, you avoid being you make yourself blameless. So that's the blameless. And those who the ones who does righteousness, these are those who are obedient. Remember, always equate righteousness to obedience. Righteous to obedient. And speaks the truth in his heart. So these are folks who walks blamelessly and does righteousness and speaks the truth in their heart. This is what comes with it. The truth is the spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the Most High, and the teachings, the Torah, his instructions, and the teachings and lessons of his only begotten Son. This is the truth, the only truth, in the prophecies of the prophets of God. This is the truth. This is the only truth. So when you speak that in your heart, meaning when you speak it in your heart, you believe it, to where as though you're speaking it to others with confidence. So that's the first standard. There's more. Verse 3. He has not slandered with his tongue. He has not done evil to his neighbor, nor lifted up a reproach against his friend. So this is what makes you blameless. Is when you don't slander with your tongue. This is what makes you blameless, not slandering with your tongue. This is what makes you blameless when you don't do evil to your neighbor. You don't look to do your neighbor evil. You don't look to do your neighbor dirty. This is what makes you blameless. This is what gets you into the kingdom. Nor do you lift up a reproach against his friend, against your friend. You don't lift up a reproach against your friend. And let me see. Let's see what that. I always got to be reminded what reproach means. Like, it always slips my mind. So yeah, it's pretty much like bad mouthing somebody. This is what a reproach. When you lift up a reproach is when you lift up you call someone out of their name. You know, you call your neighbor out of their name like something harsh. And you don't. So this when you avoid this, you're on the right track. When you avoid doing your neighbor dirty, doing your neighbor evil, you're on the right track. When you avoid slandering with your tongue, you're on the right track. You avoid, calling your friend out of their name, you're on the right track. Try to avoid calling anyone out of their name. Verse 4, in whose eyes, in whose eyes a reprobate one is despised, but he esteems those who fear Yahuwah. He who swears to his own hurt and does not change. So this is like, also this part of this standard is basically one who despise, you know, a reprobate one. Like, you may not hate a person, you just hate what they do. You just hate that's how they are. Like, as far as, their ways, they're so corrupt by the ancient knowledge of evil. And that's, never hate the person, you know, just hate their, what's happened to them, how corrupt they've become. Hate what's corrupt. Hate the ancient knowledge of evil that corrupted them. The ancient knowledge of evil that influenced us all, possessed them, and possessed our flesh, each of our flesh. In whose eyes a reprobate one is despised. But this is what you despise. You got to despise people who have given into it. Meaning you don't want to be around them. You don't want to be around people who fully given into it and embrace the ancient knowledge of evil. To the point they're becoming stumbling blocks to others. They're doing the opposite of this. They're slandering with their tongue. They're doing evil to their neighbor. They're calling each other's out of their name. These are the ones in whose eyes a reprobate one is despised, but he esteems those who fear Yahuwah. So those who fear God, those who fear Yahuwah, you esteem these people. You esteem those. You give those people the glory. You give them the credit. You give them their props. Give them their props when, give respect where respect is due. Give props where props is due. Give, give Yeah, give credit to where credit is due. To those who fear Yahuwah. And when you fear Yahuwah, that means you hate evil. Remember that. Always equal that to hating evil. So when one hates evil, he's fearing Yahuwah. How do we know this? The book of Proverbs, chapter 8. Chapter 8 explains that to us. The fear of Yah is to hate evil. So, give those folks who hate evil their props. Give those folks who hate evil their credit, their esteem. Verse 5. He has put, sorry, he has not put out his silver at interest and has not taken a bribe against the innocent. So this is one who has not accepted a bribe, and that's all forms of bribes. One who disregards and dismisses the bribe. These are the folks who, this is the standard. Those who can't be bought. That's 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 very rare, and that's very important. It's for you to be one who can't be bought. Because if you can be bought, you can be sold. But more importantly, if you can be bought, you serve money. You serve money if you can be bought. You literally serve money, and if someone can bribe you into doing something, bribe you into saying things or not saying things. That's what a lot of most politicians, most entertainers, this explains what they can't say and what they do say. This explains what they do. He has not put out his silver at interest and has not taken a bribe against the innocent. He who does these is never moved. So when you don't look to capitalize on for interest, as far as off the people. Now it's like, as far as letting someone borrow, or letting someone, it's like, that's not your goal. Like, that's not your thing. It's to basically be a loan shark and all that. You know what I mean? You're not trying to make it harder for people. This is what this is describing. This is the person this is describing. When you're not putting your silver, it says he has not put out his silver at interest. You're not trying to be a burden on anyone. Make it tough for someone to pay you. And one who has not taken a bribe against the innocent. So these are, one who pretty much going to tell it how it is and not tell it how they're paid to tell it. He who does these is never moved. He or she who does these is never moved. I think that was the end of the chapter. Let me check. Yeah, that completes the chapter. That completes the book of Psalms, chapter 13 through 15. So we're gonna move into the book of book of Proverbs, chapter 29. Book of Proverbs, chapter 29. Excuse me. Book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 1. One often reproved hardening his neck is suddenly broken, and there is no healing. So one who is oftenly, you know, basically called names, you know, they harden their neck and it's suddenly broken and there is no healing. Like some people that they you know, words do hurt people, you know, emotionally, you know, and it's 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 hard to your words are harder to forget. You may forget what you felt as far as like, you know, falling down or hurting something, or when you bumped your toe, or you bumped your elbow, or even scars on your body. You may have forgotten they were there and how they got there. But you rarely forget what's said to you and who said it. You know, you rarely forget what was said to you and who said it. And a lot of those words, if they were hurtful words, they stick with you. Especially if you're one who don't, you know, you don't come encounter with many people, so it doesn't flood out. You know, it doesn't flush out of your memory. You know, people who haven't been around a lot of people, who don't come encounter with a lot of people, it's hard for them to forget, you know, what was said to them because they don't come encounter with many people to make them forget. It's, you know, to flush out, to basically make new, to you know, replace what those bad things that were said to them with the good things. You know what I mean? So a lot of people who've grown up in smaller towns and smaller communities and smaller families and smaller areas, smaller, you know, and haven't been exposed to other walks of life and walks of people. These are the folks to remember what was said to them, and it affects them throughout their whole life if it was something, you know, really mean. And also, these are the same folks who become what was said to them, you know, basically like people indoctrinating them with thoughts, hateful thoughts. And since they don't come encounter with many people, they're from small areas, small families, small, you know, gatherings. They don't come across many people to talk to replace those thoughts, to replace those ideas, that ideology. And I know that's a little deep, you know what I mean? But if you were following, you may know what, you know, what I'm saying and what I've said. So this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 1. One often reprove, meaning, you know, basically, uh, you know, bad mouth, hardening his neck, and is suddenly broken, and there is no healing. So most people don't come back from this. You know? Verse 2. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice. But when a wrong one rules, the people sigh. Like, here we go. This guy taking over. This to this day, this is how people feel when they, you know, when they get the news that this is the ruler, this is the one who's in charge now. Whether it's your a supervisor, a teacher, or a boss, or, you know, anyone in charge. If you're someone that's, you know, a person that's wrong, that does wrong and does people wrong, you're like, man, here we go, man. It's always been this way. It's always been this way since the time of Solomon, obviously, because this is what Solomon is describing. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice. So when people who are righteous, meaning people who obeys the Most High, follows the instructions of God, the people rejoice because they can trust that these people are not going to treat them wrong, do them wrong, because they do what is right. They do what the Most High instructed. When people do what the Most High instructed, other people who do things, even though they don't do what's instructed, they see these people and know that they could trust these people. When you see a person that's obedient, that obeys the laws of God, the instructions, and follows the instructions of God, even if most people who don't do right themselves, they still could trust that person because they know that that person has integrity in the Most High. They know that that person has integrity in Most High, so he's not going to do something to piss off the Most High or bring shame to the Most High. You know what I mean? He or she is not going to do something that's going to disobey the Most High. And I'm saying you're not going to do something to people. You may do things to yourself. You may say things. You may have thoughts. These people are not perfect. They may have thoughts like myself, things that they say, things that they do but it's not to bring harm to others. It's not to be a stumbling block to others. When you becoming a stumbling block to others and you're bringing harm to others and you're tearing down people with your words, and you're known to be a person that does what is wrong, and you're not, and people, they're not going to be pleased if you're their supervisor or their boss, or you're taking over and you're their leader and you're in charge. They're not going to be pleased by that. They're not going to be too pleased by that. Verse 3. He who loves wisdom gladdens his father, but a companion of whores destroys wealth. So a companion of whores is going to destroy wealth. It's inevitable. If you're if all you have is whores for friends, and you have all this money, you will soon lose all of that money. You will soon lose all of that money. This holds true to this day. If you have nothing but whores around you and nothing but whoremongers around you, like your friends are nothing, they do nothing but crave whores and have whores around them. Those whores want to get paid. And if you're doing this daily, day by day, every day, every other day, whatever the case may be, eventually that, you're going to lose everything. You're going to lose everything that you have, because that's what they're there for. They're there for you to lose it. These whores are there for you to, they're there to spend it. Like how the song say, spend it on me. Spend it on me. This is what they're there for you to spend it on them. So if you got whores as companions, it says, but a companion of whores destroys wealth. It says, he who loves wisdom gladdens his father. So when you love wisdom, when you love spiritual wisdom, you make your father proud. You make your father proud because you don't have to rely on him for anything. You don't need anything from him, and he's like, he's pleased that you're making a way for yourself. This is what makes fathers glad, when they don't have to intervene, or they don't mind doing for you. But when you can hold your own, this is what makes your father happy. When you're making wise decisions, you're not making foolish decisions with your financially. You're not making foolish decisions with your freedom, risking your freedom. You're not making foolish decisions risking your life. You're not making foolish decisions with your health. This gladdens a father. This makes a father proud. He who loves wisdom, because if you're loving wisdom, you're obviously making wise decisions. So making wise decisions gladdens your father. But a companion of whores destroys wealth. Because your father may have the wealth, but you're a companion of whores and you're destroying the wealth that he has. You're destroying the wealth that he has by having whores for friends. So, that doesn't make a father glad, on the other hand. Verse 4. A sovereign, meaning a king, establishes a land by right ruling, but one who receives bribes throws it down. So, a governor, a mayor, anyone in position of power or leadership, if they can be bribed, that they're pretty much risking their the people that they supposed to lead. They're risking the people. They're risking losing that position because you can be bribed to do whatever, sell those people out, or be unfair to these people. This explains a lot of leadership. This explains a lot of what we have today. People who receive bribes throw down their people, sell their people out, sell their community out, sell their cities out, sell their towns out, sell their country out. A sovereign establishes, but a king establishes a land by right ruling, doing what is fair. Doing what is fair. You have people who are in power of all power in the physical realm, who are in strong positions, pretty much the headquarters of the ancient knowledge of evil, who don't want to see fairness. They don't want to see any right ruling done. So this is what's pushing back and suppressing anyone becoming rulers who actually does what is right and do the right thing and does what is fair. Fairness can be done. Fairness can be done, man. It's enough money. What is money, really, man? What is money when you really have it? And what is money in general? What is money really? What is money? How is money stopping what can be done with that money? Just do it. You don't need, listen, if you have a skill, you can build. Everyone can literally have and not pay for anything. Everything could be free. It doesn't, but that's the wicked, that's all. I'm going to, I could go as far as to say that's almost the most, it's pretty, I would say the most wickedest task put or the most wickedest element put in the world was money. Because it's like, why really, why do I need this for you? Why do I need this for you to do this, and why do I need this from you for you to have what we can all have this. We can manufacture this, we can grow this. What's what do we need? What is that's another conversation. I can go down that rabbit hole and get lost. But he who loves wisdom gladden his father's heart. I'm sorry. We're on verse 4. This is the book of Proverbs, by the way, chapter 29. We're in verse 4. A sovereign established a land by right ruling, but one who receives bribes throws it down. Verse 5. A man who flatters his neighbor spreads a net for his own feet. So when you flatter your neighbor and you call yourself lining your neighbor up or finessing your neighbor into doing something that, that's going to basically cheat them or scam them or rip them off, you're setting yourself up because it's going to basically catch up with you. There's no getting around it. No one goes unpunished. You may believe that you got away with it, as far as towards that person, but and we may watch these movies and see people get away. No one never gets away with anything really. It catches up with most of us. Catches up with everybody. The Most High leaves no one unpunished. So this is like you're setting yourself up. A man who flatters his neighbor spreads a net for his own feet. Verse 6. An evil man is ensnared by transgression, but the righteous sings and rejoices. So an evil man who does what is evil, this is what makes him an evil man, is trapped by his own transgressions, trapped by his own sins. So you trapped by your sins, the things that you do, the evil that you do, you get yourself trapped up by it. There's no getting around it. But the righteous, meaning those who are obedient, sings and rejoices and always glad because there's no worries, man. When you're obedient, there is no worries. I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I mess things up, in my own. I don't mess people up. I mess myself up. I be messing myself up, and I lose, and I get frustrated. And the Most High send people my way, or send situations my way to frustrate me. But when I'm not messing up, and I'm on an obedient streak, when I'm on an obedient streak, it's all love. It's all love, is singing and is rejoicing. And I have enough of that to sing and rejoice. I experience enough of that to sing and rejoice, even when I've messed up. Even when I've messed up I've messed myself up. Not messed nobody up. Even if I mess myself up, I can find myself singing and rejoicing because I experienced enough of an obedient streak to experience that rejoice, to experience that that feeling. Verse 7. The righteous knows the plea of the poor. The wrong does not understand such knowledge. So the righteous knows the plea of the poor. Those who are obedient knows what the poor needs, knows the needy need, knows when someone is in need. They sense when someone is in need. But the wrong does not understand such knowledge. This is spiritual knowledge. This is spiritual discretion to know when someone is in need. They need your help, or they don't know how to ask. I don't know if this is spiritual knowledge. When you have this, for lack of a better word, sixth sense to discern when someone needs something, or going through something where they need you. you know, it's your obedience that opens that sixth sense, that activates that sixth sense, that spiritual knowledge. And if you're disobedient, you're not going to sense this. This is not something that you're going to notice. This is not something that's going to come to you. You're not going to you don't care. You don't care who's going or what they're going through when you're disobedient. It says the wrong does not understand such knowledge. The wrong does not understand such knowledge. They can't because they don't want to understand it. They don't want to understand it. They don't want to begin to understand what a person need when a person who is, you know, in need, who's less fortunate. They don't want to understand what that person is going through. They don't. Verse 8. Scoffers ensnare a city, but the wise turn away wrath. So scoffers are people who mock people. Make fun of people. These are gossipers. Always making fun of people. Scoffers ensnares a city, basically traps a city. But the wise turn away wrath. So the wise knows when things are getting a little uncomfortable, like conversation may be getting uncomfortable for a person, and they turn away. There's change the subject to turn the wrath, cool this person down, so they don't get upset or too upset or upset any further than what they are they already been. Verse 9. When a wise man disputes with a foolish man, whether he rages or laughs, there is no peace. So when a wise man disputes with a foolish man, whether they laugh or they rage, there is no peace, because like the wise man will always be despised by the foolish. The wise man will always be hated on by the foolish. The wise man will always, the foolish will always want to have a argument with the wise man, and try to, basically prove the wise man wrong. This is the goal of the foolish. So whether you laugh or you rage, there will be no peace between you two. But the wise man shall always strive, the wise man or woman shall always strive to make peace, keep peace. Make peace and keep peace, even though the foolish is no peace within them. They don't want any peace with you. How do you make peace with someone that doesn't want to make peace with you? Make peace with yourself. Make peace with that person within yourself. Keep it moving. Always have a what's up and good words, but keep it moving. Verse 10. Bloodthirsty men hate the perfect and seek the life of the straight. This is how they are. Bloodthirsty men hate the perfect, because the perfect is likely to, be a person of integrity, and will give that bloodthirsty person up, because a bloodthirsty person is a person that unalives people with their words and with their actions, and they take bribes to unalive people. So they don't like any perfect people around them, people of integrity around them. They ultimately feel guilty when people who are of integrity are around them, and they look to do something to these people. So this is why the bloodthirsty men hate the perfect and seek the life of the straight. They seek the life to unalive the straight, those who walk the straight. because they look at those who walk the straight as victims, as weak. And most cases, they sadly mistaken, because it's one thing to be, do the right thing. You have most people who do the right thing, but will give you what you deserve, give you the punishment that you deserve right then and there, on site. It may be, it may be a physical behind kicking, or you know, them defending themselves, to where though it leads to you, you know, losing your life, losing your breath. These folks, you might find yourself messing with the wrong one, who's the right one. They do what is right, but they thought they were you thought they were sweet. You thought they were soft or easy Vic, you know, and you find yourself being wrong. Verse 11: A fool lets out all his breath, but the wise keeping it back calms it down. So a fool is going to, huff puff, do all this talking and yelling. This is what fools do. They're going to huff puff, do all this talking and yelling and screaming, and you know, this is a fool who lets out all his breath. But on the other hand, the wise keeping it back calms it down. They're saying less. They're doing less. So this is what calms themselves down. This is how they calm themselves down. This is how they calm others down. Saying less, doing less. They're not yelling. They're saying little to no words, if it's not something positive or conducive to bringing calm to whatever situation that needs calmness. This is how the wise responds. Verse 12: If a ruler listens to lying words, all his servants become wrong. So if a ruler listens to lying words, all his servants become wrong, because they're lying words. They're listening to lying words. So the servants, everything is built on lies. So if you got liars in your circles, and you listen to liars, you listen to lying words, everyone who serve you become wrong. They're corrupt. They do what is wrong, and they lie, and this is what they do. Since you listen to lying words, they using lying words, and they using these lying words for you to listen to, and they lying and making up lies, and they telling people lies. And this is not good at all. Not good for a ruler, to listen to lying words. Verse 13: The poor man and the oppressor have this in common. Yahuwah gives light to the eyes of both. That's simple. He gives light to the eyes of both the poor man and, the oppressor. So what makes them different? Nothing. Just one chooses to oppress, and one, is on the other end of the oppression, the bad end of it, the victim of it. And the Most High, he's going to see and judge, he's going to judge right. He's going to judge justly and righteously. He's going to judge fair and see who been taken advantage and taking advantage of others, and who's been taken advantage of. Verse 14, the sovereign who rightly rules the poor with truth, his throne is established forever. So when you rightly rule, when you do what is fair and do what is true, and you tell the truth, and you stick to truth, your throne is established forever. People will always remember you, because you did what is fair. You were fair to them. You were fair to the people. You did what was right. You spoke the truth. And you went out speaking the truth. And this is what established your throne forever. Meaning you'll never be forgotten, because you spoke what was true. And those, for the most part, those who spoke what was true, who's no longer with us to this day, like their names is established. Verse 15: a rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child unrestrained brings shame to his mother. So, a rod and correction. You gotta you gotta you gotta cor- you gotta correct the child first. You know, you gotta before you get into discipline, you gotta give them a chance to be corrected. And that's what this is about. You know, and before you can correct them, you have to instruct them. You have to instruct them. And most 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 children, especially nowadays, are uninstructed. They have no direction and no instructions. And when they do things that are against the actual instructions, are against the actual rules, that's when they're punished, when they never even knew the rules. They never was told the rules. They only was told the rules after they broke them. How does that work? Even in government, most children don't grow into civics. Most children aren't don't grow in a household teaching civics, or even a school teaches civics. So how would you know your rights? How would you know what rights are violated, or what laws you've broken, if you don't know them? Or rules, especially it could be simple as house rules, or more moral principles and morals of that you expect that your child to know, and but you haven't taught them. So you got to teach this. You have to teach these instructions on all aspects, and most importantly, the instructions of God, because that covers, most of the time, that covers all aspects. So when you teach these instructions, the instructions of all instructions, and that covers all, the rest, you have to give your child a chance to, you know, not follow those instructions, and then correct them. Like, yo, remember the instructions? Now, if they find themselves not following the instructions again, that's when the discipline comes along. That's when the discipline, is instilled. The rod. But you have to correct first before the rod. So it says, a rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child unrestrained brings shame to his mother. So, if you let a child just do what they do, it's going to eventually bring shame on you. It's going to bring shame to the mother, and if the mother removed the father out the household, or pushed the father out of the household, or did things to make the father uncomfortable, to where as though he left the household, and the child is running rampant and doing what they do, he's going to eventually bring shame on the parents, you know, and the single mother that you know that they're you know that parents them, that should have parented them, or or just gave up on parenting them. This is the pattern that most broken homes, you know, go through. Verse 16. When the rod become many, I'm sorry, when the wrong become many, transgression increases, but the righteous look on their fall. So when the wrong become many, transgressions increases. When people who do wrong get together, and they get together with other people who do what is wrong, man, listen, that ain't good. You just know it's trouble. That's where the slogan comes. Here comes trouble. You know trouble when you see it. People loud, mouthing, yelling, cussing, probably drinking, smoking publicly. That's obvious trouble. You know, it's just, hey man, listen. You don't want to judge people. You don't want to judge a book by their cover, but it's hard not to when a person is your first impression on them. That's their appearance. They pulling up, smoke, drink, cussing, yelling. You know, and you got a few people who are problematic who smoke and drink and even cuss and yell, but for the most part, those are four attributes that four traits that just says trouble. So when you see these kind of people get together with other people like this, and get together with more people like this, oh man, you like, man, this is trouble. It's gonna be some trouble. And this is what it says. When the wrong become many, transgressors increase. You just know that something's going to happen. They're going to be doing something, and something they ain't got. They're going to be something's going to be done that they ain't got no business doing. But the righteous look on their fall. So it'd be the righteous looking on. It'd be a neighbor watching the police pull up and take them away. Neighbor, just this is the righteous, the one who's obedient, the one who obeys the laws of God, which ultimately, if you obey the laws of God, then you're obeying the laws of man. So this is what makes a person righteous. So this is the person that's on the sideline most of the time, obeying the law, both God and man, and watching those who disobey the laws of God and man get hauled off in the cop cars. They watch they fall, but the righteous look on their fall. Verse 17, discipline your son, and he brings you rest and delight to your life. So discipline your son, but you have to do it in order. Like I said, you have to instruct. You have to instruct your son. You have to guide your son, give your son direction, where to go, where they have to go with these instructions, following these instructions, and where they have to go following these instructions. And if they fail to follow these instructions and fail to go in the direction that you send them, that's when you correct them first. You have to correct them first, like and remind them, yo, the instructions, remember, the direction, remember. And if they fail to do it again, they fail to remember, they fail to follow it again, and go to the direction you sent them again, that's when you discipline. That's the discipline. That's when discipline comes along. That's when the discipline is necessary. It has to be in that order. Otherwise, it's just raising people driven mad. kids that's driven mad because they don't know why they're being disciplined. They never was given instruction. All they was given was discipline. And most kids, unfortunately, has been raised like that. Nothing but discipline, no instructions, no direction. Because the parent didn't have direction and instruction themselves. All they was given was discipline. Verse 18, where there is no vision, the people are let loose. But blessed is he who guards the Torah. Blessed is he who guards the Torah, which is the instructions of God. Blessed is he who guards the Torah, which is the instructions of God. Where there is no vision, the people are let loose. So where there is no vision, the only way you can receive vision is through the instructions of God. Who gives vision? Who else is going to give you that vision? A vision worth giving, a vision worth seeing. You may have a vision from the ancient knowledge of evil that leads to destruction, but I'm a vision worth seeing that benefits a people, that benefits you, that benefits a people spiritually, for them to extend their stay in this realm and the next. That's a vision verse seeing. And where there is no vision like that, the people are let loose. But blessed is he who guards the Torah, which is the instructions of God. That's what Torah means. Always remember that. Torah means instruction. Torah means instruction, and it's literally the instructions of God. Verse 19, a servant is not disciplined by words. Though he understands, he does not respond. So by mere words, people don't respond. You need to, especially adults. When you're old enough to know better, you discipline. And I'm not talking about with adults. I'm talking about as far as like a workplace. Like you gotta deduct a pay if a worker is showing up late, or if they're doing something wrong in the workplace. This is the discipline that's necessary. This is the discipline that's necessary. Because that's why. Otherwise, they're going to continue showing up late. They're going to continue doing what it is that they have no business doing in the workplace. And same goes with criminals. They're going to continue breaking the law if there's no discipline. Me myself, I had to be disciplined to stop. The Most High, and it was the work of the Most High, because this is how I found the discipline, the instructions of God. So, and it's basically, a servant is not disciplined by mere words, just mere telling them to stop. They have to, from a child to an adult, they have to be punished, and all discipline has to be physical. All discipline doesn't have to be physical. You have discipline. You can discipline someone taking a privilege away, especially a child, taking something away from them, taking their phone away, taking a game away. You can discipline an adult taking some money away. Time off. It's the only way. And with even more wicked people, is unfortunate. People who are wicked and evil, they only respect violence. They only respect violence because they're violent people. You can't talk to violent people. Their language is violence. And that's the unfortunate part. If you're not a violent person, you just gotta avoid these people, because that's how they talk. That's how they coming. Their language is not verbal. Their language is violence. So they only respect violence. They only respond to violence. You getting violent with them. And if you win, then they respect it. If you lose, then they may respect it, but most cases, they're going to feel empowered to be more disrespectful or be more violent or be more whatever. They're going to be encouraged. This is how this verse can be broken down. The servant is not disciplined by words. Though he understands, he does not respond. Verse 20. Have you seen a man hasty in his words? There is more expectancy for a fool than for him. So one who is speaking fast and speaking rapid, there is more expectancy for a fool than for him, sadly. Because you're not choosing your words wisely. You're not choosing your words carefully. And you're going off. And eventually you're going to say something that you didn't want to. Later you're going to regret, and you realize that you didn't want to say that. This is the danger of speaking fast and rapidly. That's why it says there's more expectancy for a fool than for him. Verse 21. He who deals tenderly. This is the book of Proverbs Chapter 29, by the way. Verse 21. He who deals tenderly with his servant from youth has him as a son in the end. So these are the servants of the family, or like of the family business, who may have been more loyal to the owner than the owner's own child. So that when they grow, the owner leaves the business to them because he knows that the business is in good hands with this servant that's not his child, but he's loyal, and he's reliable, he's responsible, and his actual child isn't. You have a lot of cases out there like this, and it's always been like this, obviously, because Solomon is pointing it out. Verse 22, a man of displeasure stirs up strife, and a master of rage has many a transgression. So if you're a master of rage, and that's all you do is rage, and you manipulate to rage, and you rage to manipulate, and you use rage as a manipulation tactic, it's going to lead to you doing a lot of wrong, and doing a lot of people wrong, and a lot of wrong coming your way. You stirring up strife, and you're a man of displeasure all the time, and you're always upset and in a bad mood. Yeah, you just got your day coming. Verse 23, the pride of man brings him low, but the humble in spirit obtains esteem and tames glory. So if you're humble, one who's humble, and who has this humility, you get nothing but the credit for that. You get nothing but credit for that from people who are even your enemies, even people who don't like you or who haven't liked you. Humility makes everyone love you. Humility makes everyone love you, even those who didn't love you before, even those who didn't like you before. Humility will have everyone loves you. Everyone loves a humble person. Everyone respects a humble person. To this day, it's always been this way. But the pride of man brings him low. When you in your pride, and you proud, and you in your your ego, and you gotta flaunt that and flex and prove yourself, show yourself, that brings you low eventually. It may not show, but it'll bring you low, and people will see that because there's no humility in that. People will see that and get, they'll, you will, it will lower their standards. They will lower you in their standards. They will lower you in their, how they how they look at you. They would, you would be, they, someone that they don't, they don't respect too much. They'll lose respect for you when you in your pride and you're proud and you arrogant and egotistic. Verse 24. He who shares with a thief hates his own life. He hears an oath but does not report. So, when you don't report the oath, and you don't uphold the oath, and you don't report the oath, and you don't point out the oath, and you don't honor the oath, and what what you're supposed to honor, especially when you're serving the people. Like, you're a dishonorable person. Like, he who shares with a thief hates his own life. So you sharing with a thief, because you're both stealing money from the people. And this is what we have in a lot of departments, you know, in the world. A lot of people stealing money. A lot of people sharing with thieves. A lot of people taking bribes. And they disregarding their oath that they took. They forgot the oath. They're not honoring the oath. And this explains the position, this explains the predicament the people all over the world people are in. It's because they're so-called leaders who took the oath, dishonored the oath, and they took the bribe. They dishonored the oath by taking the bribes. Verse 25, the fear of man brings a snare, but whoever trusts in Yahuwah is set on high. So the fear of man, if you fear man, you trapping yourself up. You fear man, you trapping yourself up. You gotta fear the Most High. Don't fear the one who can destroy the body. Fear the one who destroys the body and the spirit. Man can't destroy spirit. Man can destroy body. Man can't destroy spirit. The maker of both man and spirit is the only one that can destroy the spirit. That's who you fear. Don't fear man and what they can do and what they're going to do. Blah, blah, blah. Don't. I get it. The anxiety is real, and when you fear for the life of your flesh and the life of the flesh that you may have in children and your spouse, that's tough to, that's tough to just like eat or not cave in. And this is what wicked people use. This is why they use people's families, use people's children and spouse, and parents and family to do what is wicked, to bring wicked towards them. So it's like, but don't trust and don't fear man. That's the goal, is to basically trust in the spirit, in the spirit realm. Trust that there's an extension for you. Fear the Most High. Fear Yah. Fear the supreme spirit. Because man will only disappoint you. Man will only, man is mere flesh. Man can be smeared. Man can be smeared by a car. Man can be smeared by a freaking, you know, animal. Man can be smeared by a rock. Anything that falls on a man can be smeared just as just as easy as you smear a insect like an ant or a gnat, which we should all feel bad about doing and try to avoid doing when we find ourselves encounter with these creatures. We shouldn't even be, the scriptures say we shouldn't touch them, but we can be smeared just as uh, easy as an ant in a gnat. So it's no point for us to fear each other. Fear the one who can smear. Fear the one who can smear us. Fear the one who's in control and pull the strings to smear us. And I'm not talking about the man. I'm talking about the maker of the men. The maker of the men in the spirit. Fear that. Fear him. Fear thee. Fear thy. But whoever trusts in Yahuwah is set on high. When you trust in the Most High, you're set on high. Because it's like you good. No matter what, you regardless. Always remind yourself that you good if you a practitioner of obedience. If you practice obedience and you strive to be obedient for the most part, you're not perfect to yourself. You're not perfect in your words and your thoughts, but you don't allow them to affect others, your neighbors. You don't allow your actions, your words, or your thoughts to affect your neighbors. And you, for the most part, strive to obey. You trust in the Most High to take care of whatever it is that needs taken care of. And if you're not there, this is where you want to be. This is where you want to strive to be. This is the goal. To get to that point where you can trust that you will have shelter, you will have food, you will have water, you will have clothing, you will have opportunity. Verse 26, many seek the face of a ruler, but right ruling for man comes from Yahuwah. That's where fairness comes from. Flesh don't want to be fair, man. Flesh wants to be crooked, corrupt, and unfair. They want it all to themselves and want it all to the people that they know and love and they consider family and friends. This is the nature of flesh. It's the spirit. It's the spirit where this fairness comes from. But right ruling for man comes from Yahuwah. Fairness comes from the Most High. Doing what is right by people comes from the Most High. It don't come from people. People don't naturally want to do what is right for others. Flesh doesn't want to do right by others. They want to keep that to themselves. They want to find a loophole and get around. Take the easy route. Illegally. Listen, man, that's the reality of the nature of flesh. So it's the spirit that actually wants to, it's from Yah. And it's the spirit within us that is from Yah. That's the true child, the children of Yah through his son. that wants to do what is right and right by people do right by people. People don't want to naturally do right by each other, man. And if they do, it's the spirit within them. It's not their flesh. It's the spirit within them that they haven't figured out what it is. They just, they have it. They haven't tapped into it to identify it as their true identity. That's the goal, is to identify the spirit within you as your true identity, not your flesh, not the color of your flesh, not the origins of your flesh, not the lineage of your flesh. It's what's within the flesh, the origins of your spirit, the spirit. That's your true identity. That's what you want to get to know. When you really want to know self, that's the self you want to know. Know thyself, that's self. It doesn't get no self than that. Verse 27, last verse. An unrighteous man is an abomination to the righteous, and he who is straight in the way is an abomination to the wrong. So it go hand in hand. Abomination, an unrighteous man is an abomination to the righteous man. So a disobedient man is an abomination to the obedient man, because the obedient man does, basically follows the instructions of God. So when he sees someone not following the instructions of God, and they're making it their duty, and they're embracing not following the instructions of God, they're intentionally not following the instructions of God. One who followed the instructions of God is like, yo, I'm out. I'm cool. I don't want nothing to do with this person. I'm good. I don't want to know this person. I really don't want to be around this person. I'm uncomfortable because they're not following the instructions of God. And I follow the instructions of God. So if anyone who strives to follow the instructions of God, they're going to be bothered by someone who make it a habit of not following the instructions of God. They're going to be bothered and uncomfortable. They're going to be uncomfortable with being around. They're going to be uncomfortable around these people. So this is why the unrighteous man is an abomination to the righteous. And unrighteous, like I said, unrighteous means disobedient. Righteous means obedient. And on the other hand, and he who is straight in the way is an abomination to the wrong. So the one who does what is wrong sees one who does what is straight, and like, oh, I can't be. The one who does what is wrong see the one who does what is straight, and just like, man, it's like, it looks at him like they're abomination. Like, you do what is straight, you do what is right. Oh man, you gotta stay from around me. You gonna tell. You gonna tell on. You gonna get us locked up. This is how people who do what is wrong think. They don't want people that does what is right around them, because they like, man, this person gonna do what is right too. They're gonna be too right. I can't trust them. I do what is wrong. So they gonna get me in trouble. Like, I can't have this person. You an abomination to me. You do what is straight. You on a straight path. This is what a person does what is wrong is thinking. Like, get away from me. They don't want a person that's on a straight path around them. They're like, yo, like, I do what is wrong. I'm in the business of doing what is wrong. They're workers of wickedness. They embrace the ancient knowledge of evil. So they can't have, you doing all this right around them. Like, you too right. Like, I'm too like this. So you're an abomination to them. They like, man, I can't risk you telling on me. I can't risk you trying to stop me from doing what I do, which is wrong. It's what I do. They can't have that. And this is from the small to the big. This is this is from the small corners of the streets to the high corners of the offices. They can't have straight, narrow people around them. They're abominations from top to bottom. And the same goes got to be for the righteous, workers of righteousness. You got to look at, you can't have workers of wickedness around you. They got to be abomination to you. Like, it's one, you can keep it cordial, but you just can't, you got, they do what is abominable. They do what is abominable, so you got to keep it stepping for the sake of for the sake of it not rubbing off on you, because that ancient knowledge of evil rubs off. Believe that. That's an ancient evil. It's an ancient spirit. It's an ancient unclean spirit that latches on. It's unseen, but you see it in actions. You see it in people's actions. This is how you can identify the ancient knowledge of evil when it's amongst you. You see it in actions of people, and you see the people that it corrupted, you see the people that it latched on and possessed. It's on most of our flesh. It's on all of our flesh. We all have it, but you have people who have embraced it and have it more on them. You have to look at the ancient knowledge of evil as a virus, literally, as the very first virus. You have to look at it as the very first virus that was brought in through the enemy, through manipulating the first man and woman. It's been spreading since. And you have to look at the ancient knowledge of good as the antidote. The very first antidote. The very first vax, if in that matter. For that matter. So you gotta be the workers of righteous, and yeah, can't compromise for the workers of wicked, because they won't compromise for the workers of righteous. They not. They might give you a way out to get basically not hurt you, and let you know like, yo, you a good person. You don't want this smoke. You don't want this. You know what I mean? They know they're going to do something wrong, so they'll keep you away, or tell you not to, tell you to go your way. And that's the mercy that they'll give you. But we have to do the same thing. You have to do the same thing as a righteous, one who does what is right. Try to give a person another option. Give a person who does what is wrong an option, like another way to look at it. Like, man, maybe you should do this. Maybe you should try. Maybe it's time to give it up. Maybe it's time to stop. You give them that, and it's on them to take it. It ain't on you to force it. It's not on you to force it on them. You did what you could. You envision their downfall. You envision their, if the path that they're on and what it leads to. So you can't do nothing more than that. You're gonna find yourself getting in a dispute, verbally or physically. And that's just something you don't need. That completes the book of Proverbs chapter 29. We're going to get into the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1. The words of Koheleth. This is known to be Solomon. It's well known that it's accepted that this is Solomon, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Verse 2. Futility. meaning meaningless, meaningless. Says Koheleth, futility, fertility, all is futile, all is meaningless. What does he mean by this? All is meaningless. Everything, all flesh, and what's made for the flesh, and what's made by the flesh, and what's made for the flesh is meaningless, futile. This is what he meant. This is what he take away, and we're going to see this. You know, most people who read this don't even get that what this was about, was basically realizing how futile the flesh was, and if in living in the flesh, if it's not living for the spirit, if it's not living to extend your stay in the spirit, if it's not living to share the ways to extend your stay in the spirit, which is repentance. That's the only. If it's not that, it's meaningless. It's futile. And this is what Solomon took away from all of that. We're going to see this. We're going to see this in the end of this chapter, and when we're going to read these chapters throughout the year, because I'm going to stay on chapter 1 until next month, till next week. So it's 12 months in a year. It's 12 chapters in Ecclesiastes. Yeah, I figured that out. So that every week with every week of this month, I've read from chapter 1. So next month is the second month, so we're going to be moving into the second chapter. Yah willing, that's the goal. Verse 3, what does man gain from all his labor in which he toils under the sun? This is flesh. He's speaking of the flesh. What does man gain from all his toil in the flesh? This is work. When you're working in the flesh, what do you gain from it? If it's not to, if you're not if you're not gaining extension, if you're not extending your stay in the spirit realm, what are you gaining? What are you gaining in doing work in the flesh? You can only gain something worth working for as far as when you working in for the spirit matters. I'm not saying that you shouldn't work. 6 days you labor, the 7th you rest. We should be working, but you have to do this work. You have to do this work for the spirit, which is, sharing the good news of the kingdom and how to enter through repentance. Through repentance and following instructions of God and the lessons and the teachings and examples and demonstrations of his only begotten son. This is the work. You have to be sure. This is the work. That's the only work that's worth laboring. Is the work that's going to extend your stay in the spirit realm, and that's going to extend others' stay in the spirit realm. Nothing that you do in the flesh is going to extend someone's stay, because it's all going to lead to expiration dates. Verse 4, a generation passes away, and a generation comes, but the earth stands forever. He's pointing out how your flesh has expiration dates. Each fleshes of the past had expiration dates. Generations came, generations gone. But the earth still here. Verse 5, the sun also rises and the sun sets and hurries back to the place where it arose. Verse 6, going to the south and turning around to the north, turning, and on its rounds the wind returns. Verse 7, all the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea never overflows. Notice that you have a lot of sea level scientists talks about these sea levels, but it only overflows when the Most High allows it to overflow to punish a people for whatever that people have done, whatever boundary was moved, or whatever abomination was being done, or whatever. That's the only time sea levels overflow. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea never overflows to the place from which the rivers come. There they return again. Verse 8, all matters are wearisome. All matters in the flesh is wearisome. You get worn out. That's what it does. That's what it's for. That's you know, no one is able to speak of it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. Can't satisfy an ear and a hair. They want to see more. They want to see it again. They want to see somebody else do it. They want to hear more. They want to hear it again. They want to hear somebody else. No satisfaction. What's the point? What's the point? This is all of our flesh. This is how our flesh is, the nature of each of our flesh. Unsatisfied. The ears and the eyes. Always want to hear more, always want to see something new. But check this out. This is what Solomon took away from all of this. Verse 9, what has been is what shall be. What has been is what shall be. What has been done is what shall be done, and there is no new matter under the sun. There's no new matter under the sun. So it's not who's to say that what they see now hasn't been here 5,000, 10,000 years ago. No one's old enough. No one on this earth is old enough to verify that, to write it off, or to to definitively say, it wasn't. Nothing new under this. It says there is no new matter under the sun. Verse 10, is there a matter of which it is said, see, this is new. It was here already long ago. So he may be speaking on his time, but I think this is timeless. I believe, like, you gotta understand, this world is ancient, man. This existence is ancient. This reality is ancient. And you have unexplainable elements that we clearly see. We have names for them, but we can't grasp the the powerful elements that we see in the sky. And you hear of messengers and angels, and you don't believe that these messengers and angels, they didn't come with information. They didn't come with ancient knowledge of evil, of craft and tools and stuff like that, and electric. And you don't think they, you don't think that's the source. You don't think that they came with all that. That didn't come with the ancient knowledge of evil, or the ancient knowledge of good, whatever the case may be. You thinking too much of yourself. You thinking too much of us as a people. This is why I believe that is there a matter of which it says, see, this is new. It was here already long ago. That's why I believe this. Verse 11, there is no remembrance of former ones, nor is there any remembrance of those that are to come by those who come later on. This is the flesh. No one remembers the first time. No one remembers the first Thomas Edison, or the first, inventors, or the one, or no one was there to see the fallen messengers bring the knowledge. or share the knowledge. There is no remembrance of former ones, nor is there any remembrance of those that are to come by those who come later. Verse 12. I, Koheleth, was sovereign over Israel and Jerusalem. Verse 13. And I set my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all that has been done under the heavens. This is this evil task Elohim, meaning God, has given to the sons of man to be humbled by it. It's to be humbled by it, meaning like this, like to be humbled, to realize you're just mere flesh. And it's something, it's a lot of things in this world you can't see, you can't reach, you can't touch, you can't get to. The bottom of the seas, the you know, the heights of the heavens, the ends of the earth. It's just you, and they left. I'm sure Solomon tried to figure this out himself, and it just leaves you humbled. You may find yourself losing money, losing lives, trying to figure out, and this is what leads to you being humbled by the pursuit. The pursuit that, you know, same pursuit that Solomon was on. It says, and I set my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all that has been done under the heavens. This evil task Elohim has given to the sons of man to be humbled by it. Verse 14, I have seen all the works that are done under the sun. Who are we to make all those works a short list that Solomon? Who's to say that Solomon, didn't have scientists himself? Wise man, and this is the wisest man that lived at the time. And I set my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all that has been done under the heavens. This evil task Elohim has given to the sons of man to be humbled by it. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and see, all was futile and feeding on wind. Futile because it was concerning the flesh, and it was just like according to the flesh, and was things made by the flesh and for the flesh and for the eyes of the flesh to see. But this spirit realm, this is where you ultimately want to be. This is the spirit. The closest thing to spirit is wind. And we know that from the Messiah and how he described our spirit self to wind. And you don't know where wind goes and where it comes, and you feel it though. You feel it. You feel wind. But you don't know where it came and where it's going. You don't know that. And this is the closest thing. This is the closest example of our encounter with spirit, is the wind that we feel every day. And we don't see it, but we feel it. We don't see it, but we feel it. And what could we do, physical bodies, do to wind? What can we do to wind? What can anything physically do? What can anything physical do to wind? Anything in a physical form do to wind? What can flesh do to wind? And what I mean by this, what can flesh do to spirit? When you think of wind, think of spirit. What can flesh do to spirit? Can it grasp it? Can it grab it? Can it hold it? What can it do to it? So this is what leads to you feeding on wind. Because wind is basically like it's eternal, it's immortal, it's endless, and that's the spirit, and that's the goal. If that's not the goal, what is? If that's not the goal, to become like the wind, become spirit, and extend your stay in the spirit and be one with the wind, which is the breath of God, the supreme spirit. What is the what is the purpose? Verse 15, the crooked could not be straightened. So this is what he came away with. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and see, all was futile and feeding on wind. 15. The crooked could not be straightened, and what is lacking cannot be counted. Verse 16. So I spoke to my heart, saying, see, I have attained greatness, and have gained more wisdom than all who were before me in Jerusalem. And my heart has seen much wisdom and knowledge. So he's explaining how he's seen and obtained more wisdom than all those before him. So this was a very wise man in his time. He was the wisest, known to be the wisest in his time. So how wouldn't you think he's seen what could be seen, and figured out what could be figured out, and had access to what could be accessed? You're fooling yourself if you thinking he can't. He hasn't, and he has spiritual wisdom, like from the source, which is the supreme spirit, the Most High God. Verse 17, and I set my heart to know wisdom, and to know madness and folly, meaning foolishness. I know that this too is feeding on wind. So he set his heart out to be foolish too, and to know foolishness, and to know what people was getting out of this foolishness and being in this madness, and to see if it was any pleasure or any sensation or anything to come from it. And it led to nothing. It led to nothing. To this day, it leads to nothing. It will always lead to nothing. The only thing that's meaningful and purposeful is doing right by others and helping others extend their stay, helping yourself extend your stay in the spirit realm, be one with this breath of God, this breath of the supreme spirit, which is the wind. Become one with this breath of God, this supreme spirit, which is the wind, which is the closest thing to our, I only say that because that's the closest thing to, spirit. That's the goal. It's to do what it takes to get there, and do what it takes to get others to get there. Everyone, as many as people that you can, to get there through doing right by each other and following the instructions of the supreme spirit and his only in the examples and demonstrations of his only begotten son. Verse 18, for in much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases suffering. So you increase in suffering when you increase knowledge, because you have knowledge of where this leads to. You have you it became known to you what this all leads to. It's nothing if it's not this. If it's not the spirit realm. If it's not the spirit realm, it's grieving to think about that you're most people spending most of their time on futility and what is meaningless and nothing, and serve no purpose. Yes, you have to make a way for your family and yourself. That's one thing. That's automatic. But outside of that, when you're striving to make a name for yourself and be somebody, or be something purposeful or whatever the case may be. And if it's not if it's not to extend your stay and extend an other stay in the spiritual realm, it's meaningless and it's purposeless and it's futile. It's a dead end. And this is what's grieving. This is what grieves those who are wise and understand this. This is what grieves those who are aware of this expiration date of everything made for the flesh and everything that's made for the flesh, made by the flesh and made for the flesh. That completes chapter 1 of Ecclesiastes. You know, Hallelujah, hallelujah, praise Yah. May all glory be to Yah, Yahuwah, Shabbawoth, Yahuwah, Almighty, Yahuwah, Most High, Yahuwah, El Shaddai. Thank you, Yahuwah. Thank you, Yahushua. Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah. It was you who was said, it is documented. It is documented that you said that when 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, you are amongst us, you are in our midst. Since that is the case, Master Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah, I ask that you help all who are gathered in your name heal from whatever it is we need healing from. Help all who are gathered in your name, help their loved ones heal from whatever it is they need healing from. Whether it's addiction, whether it's any illness or any ailment, any you know anything that you can heal, Master Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah, or help us heal from, or help them heal from. I ask, since you are in our midst, Master Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah, I ask that you help us find comfort in whatever it is we need to find comfort in and comfort from, and help our loved ones find comfort in and find comfort from whatever it is that they need. Since you are in our midst, Master Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah, I ask that you help us be better and be better to become spiritual children of your Father through your lessons, through your examples, through your demonstrations, through your teachings, which is treating each other how we want to be treated, treating each other how you treated us, how your Father treated us, having forgiving in order to be forgiven, having mercy in order to be shown mercy, having compassion in order to be shown compassion, having empathy, honoring our parents. Help us be better at it. Help us love our enemies. Help us do good for those hating us. Bless those cursing us. Forgive those. In order for us to be forgiven. Let it be, Master. Bahashem Yahushua HaMashiach, son of Yah, let it be. Peace, love, shalom. Until next time, shalom, peace, and love.